It's time to talk Padres baseball.
This place is electric.
Our 97.3 The Fan staff is together to break down everything both on and off the field with the San Diego Padres in our commercial-free Epic Padres Roundtable, sponsored by Epic Wings. Buckle up, Friar Faithful. We've got a lot to discuss. Now, here's your host, Ben Higgins.
Our panel is growing. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Epic Wings, Epic Padres Roundtable here on 97.3 The Fan. And what a great cast we have today. Let me introduce our panelists, starting right next to me with Chris Ello. Hello, Chris.
Morning.
Got Braden Soprenet. Tony Gwynn Jr. Good to see you, Tony.
Good morning, everyone.
Woodsy's right there in the middle. And
Hi.
his broadcast partner, Tony's Jesse Agler, joins us here for the first time on our roundtable. Is that true?
That is correct, yes.
It is great to have you, Jesse. Hopefully we'll have a fun hour talking Padres baseball. Spirits high following a 3-game sweep of the Atlanta Braves this week at Petco Park. Dodgers coming to town. We'll probably get to that a little bit later. But let me start, and we'll start with Jesse, our first-time guest, with our first question. How significant is the sweep of the Atlanta Braves in your mind, knowing what Craig Stammen said about the sweep after the game, that the Braves aren't exactly firing on all cylinders? Padres didn't catch their number one pitcher. They've been dealing with some injuries, but a sweep of one of the best teams in baseball is still a sweep.
Yeah, I think I look at it a couple different ways. One is you take a sweep anytime you take a sweep. I don't care who it is. I don't care what they look like or anything like that. I'm tangled, sorry. 3 wins in a row is 3 wins in a row, and that's the primary thing. I think you need wins, you take wins, you want wins, you get wins, you're happy. And then really deeper than that, and Tony and I talked a lot about this the last few days, feels like this offense is starting to kind of get going a little bit. And whether that resulted in a sweep or not, if you kind of step back from the immediate results, I think that's kind of critically important right now. And so, like, those are the two things I look at. Whether it was Chris Sale or J.R. Ritchie, it's that, we've seen the offense make progress, really going back to the weekend against the Rangers and really continuing through the Braves. I know you had the 1-0 game, but you're seeing signs of life from the offense that we haven't seen in some time. So you throw in 3 wins. To me, that's what matters. Whether you want to talk about the Braves having the second best record in baseball, or you want to talk about whether they're hurt or not, whether it's a sweep or not. To me, that's a little bit secondary. They're playing better baseball. The offense looks more like, the capable major league offense that we expected to see this year. And yeah, you never scoff at 3 straight wins. You never do.
Tony, I try to hear your voice in my ear sometimes, reminding me it's a long baseball season. Not every game is a referendum on your team. Not every series, not every homestand is a defining moment. But then again, you look back and there will be some defining homestands and series. How did you feel about this last 3 against the Braves, and how significant was it for you?
Everything Jesse said. I think the offense is the thing that stands out. They're putting up runs. They're scoring in multiple innings. And I just like the way Manny's swing is starting to come into play. I think, he has taken some time to unwind whatever he had to kind of get out of. And in that Texas series, you started to see, at least from my perspective, the swing that has made him Manny Machado. And I think you saw it all through the weekend, or through this last series with the Braves. Even the 1-for-5, the walk-off day, I thought he had his best 5 at-bats of the season in that. And so I think Jesse and I have talked about this. When Manny's going, so is the offense. It really has been that way ever since he's been here. And so I think, among other things, the offense is good. And as Jesse said, you get 3 wins. I don't care against who. The Braves, especially being one of the best teams in the league, regardless of how well they're playing right now, you feel pretty good about it. And it wasn't as though they won each of those games 1-0. They put up some runs and had to score runs in order to win. And I think that's the thing that I'm hopeful about as we move forward, that this is something we can continue to see.
Yeah, I think for me, seeing them win in different ways. A dominating pitching performance by Michael King. A game where they had to piece it together with a bullpen and offense in the middle of the series. Yeah. And then with the bullpen depleted, getting some, surprise contributions from guys like JP Sears. Winning 3 different ways is always, Chris, kind of the sign of a team that, that is encouraging to see. And that's now 9 straight wins over the Braves at Petco Park. But none of them were really the Braves at their best. The playoffs in 2024, they were injury riddled. They had to go with A.J. Smith-Shawver starting that series. Last year to open the season, we didn't know. I mean, no Ronald Acuna. We didn't know the Braves weren't that good when they came to Petco Park, and now they kind of hit here. Losers of, I think 9 of their last 12 now, and not firing on all cylinders and not healthy at all.
Yeah, but we've lost enough games to last place teams that, this just makes up for it. So, I'm going to say the same thing as far as how important it is to beat the Braves 3 in a row. It's important to beat anyone 3 in a row the way they've been playing coming into this series. And, just to get right again. There's a lot of things ahead. I mean, you got a road trip that starts with the Cubs, right, next week after the Dodgers. So the funniest thing to me about sweeping the Braves is that thinking about how much time we all spend looking at the schedule and going, oh, no, or, oh, yeah, we're playing the Rockies and the Royals. It doesn't really mean anything in baseball. Just play well, win games. Your opponents don't mean much. I was looking it up today. The Padres are 12-6 against first place teams this year, but they're also 13-6 against last place teams. So I guess they're not very good against the teams in the middle. But you know what I mean? To me, it's a little arbitrary who you're playing. And Tony said this to me the other day. We caught everybody's ace pitcher the first 2 months of the season. So the fact that we missed Chris Sale, we don't have to apologize for it.
Braden, your takeaways from the Braves series and sweep?
I think it's big for this team. I think it's good. Again, I don't think it really matters who the opponent is. Taking 3 games for anybody against anybody right now I think is huge for this team that is, struggling in this month of June. But they're 9 I think they're 10-11 in the month of June. I mean, if they go 3-2 their next 5, they have 5 games left in June. They go 500, and they enter July with the exact same place that they were in last year entering July. So I think it was a good series to get back on track. And I think give a little confidence to this fan base that this team can beat good teams too. And, maybe that the times of the rough months are over, but we'll see.
Now, Woods, this morning when we got in for our show, said he got 5 minutes of sleep. Feel free to skip him. So I'm going to skip. Great. I'm going to skip you now, but I'm going to come to you to start our next question. It's our Epic Wings, Epic Padres Roundtable. I had some lemon pepper right before the show. It's made with fruit, so I think it's just a little bit healthier for the morning. That's usually
citrus.
It's made with fruit.
That's the way I like to look at it. It was absolutely delicious, though. They have a new sauce I haven't tried yet, spicy barbecue, limited time only. You can check it out starting Monday, July 6th. Let's talk, Woods, about Fernando Tatis Jr. We've done it all season long, but not about his offense, which actually has been looking really good lately. The Padres are moving him back and forth between right field and second base, oftentimes in the same game. But what do you think is the long-term strategy here for the Padres defensively? What position is he going to land at? Will he land at a position? Is he just going to be like a super utility defender? Going forward, I don't know what is going to work for Fernando in the field. He seems to be good everywhere.
I wish I knew what he, in his heart of hearts, I think I know, like we all think we know, he was very happy on the infield, and I think the numbers bear it out. If you're asking me, like, what would I do if I had Fernando? I have no idea. I mean, he won a platinum glove in right field, but he's a really good second baseman too, and you feel really confident when the ball's hit his way. And you get, good production out of him there. Benny, I'm on the fence. Like, I want to do whatever is going to make him the happiest, but he's taken to second base like it's no problem whatsoever. And the play he made, that play he made across the back was like with the throw last week. It was incredible. And he's a marvel to watch. I don't think we've talked enough about how he's turned around. I know you said skip the offense, but like, what he's done grinding through it and really accepting kind of what he is and who he is it's been remarkable.
That ball he got to yesterday couldn't make the throw, but I mean, was almost halfway to third base by the time he actually
he's a freak.
Picked it up. It was amazing. Tony, you were obviously a really good defensive outfielder. You saw Fernando take to it so quickly when they moved him out there. He's now taken to second base so quickly as they moved him back in there. What do you think's the best spot for him and what the Padres should do going forward with Fernando defensively?
I think in terms of him individually, he can play wherever he wants, honestly, right field or second base. And I think he could be a gold glover, He's already been a Gold Glover in right. I think he could be one at first or second base as well.
Probably first too.
Yeah, maybe.
You wanted to.
Maybe. But I think in terms of what's best now, I think what they're doing is best right now. I think that gives them the flexibility to get different guys in the lineup. Unless they go out and make a trade, which is possible that you get a stalwart player at that position. Keep moving him around. It doesn't seem to bother him at all. He's been as Woodsy said, and I thought he learned a lot about himself last year. I think that's kind of helped him kind of get through some of the power struggles this year, but he's been phenomenal. I think, for the last 2 months, whether he's been in right field or at second base. So I think because of the way the team is constructed, you keep using them the way you're using them and moving them both spots.
Tony, what is it about that mentality? We see it with Jake Cronenworth, doesn't seem to care where they put him, second, first, short, whenever
Right.
they need to move him around. Doesn't, water off a duck's back. Another player, we saw Xander, a lot of consternation, and that doesn't make it a bad thing. I mean, Xander wants to be at his best. He doesn't want to let the team down. He's worried about it. How do you kind of approach that mentality of being, no, I want to be here because I'm best here versus I want to do what the team, is going to best help the team or what they need?
I think a lot of times that boils down to the confidence of the individual being able to move. I mean, if I'm Toddy, I'm not worried. I know I can athletically do any of these things. Bogey's a little bit older. Maybe that was something, learning a new spot that late in your career. Maybe that's something he wasn't comfortable with. And I think you got to respect that because he's not where even Jake, he's super athletic. So like these guys are willing to do it, because they're selfless, but also because they know that it's not a big deal. And so I think a lot of players, when they get into those spots, their worry is ultimately about, not being able to play the position sufficiently and hurting the team. So I just think, that these are the type of players generally that the Padres have in their locker room that are willing to do whatever it takes, whether it's moving positions, whether it's pitching out of a different role. We've seen that really across the board.
And Chris, we've seen that from another team in the division that feels free to move their players around. The Los Angeles Dodgers have done it quite successfully with not just utility players like Tommy Edman and Kike Hernandez, but stars like Mookie Betts, that they have been unafraid to move them wherever they need to move them, and has shown that you can be successful doing that.
Jackson Merrill's a shortstop, right? He's in center field.
Gavin Sheets in
Fernando,
left now.
What's that?
Gavin Sheets playing left field, and
Really, almost you look at every position. Manny Machado, I'm pretty sure, was a shortstop, right? So, yeah, all these guys are willing to do that. I'm not surprised. If you want to trade for somebody that cares about what position they play, you can always get Devers down here from San Francisco. But I think the rest of these guys are all willing to do what it takes to help this team win. I'm not so sure that, the way they're getting no production behind the plate that, maybe even try Fernando back there so we can get a little more offense in the lineup. He is really proving what we already knew, is that he's just an incredible freak athlete. And if you put him somewhere, he's going to take to it. And so that's what we're seeing.
Could he do it? Yes. Do we want to see him taking those out? Of course not.
Of course not.
Absolutely.
Jesse, one thing, though, it really does illustrate just how lucky we are to get to watch Fernando play and what he can do. It truly is kind of freakish, his abilities out there.
Yeah, no, I mean, we talk often about guys playing different positions, and it's easy to talk about. You say, oh, yeah, Mookie goes to play shortstop. He goes to play right field. He goes to play, second base or whatever like that. But, not everybody can actually do that and do it well. And as Tony mentioned, he's winning a platinum glove in right field. He's playing a really good second base. It's very easy to talk about it. But to see guys go out and do that at that level is actually fairly rare. But what I think is cool about the entire thing for the Padres, and you guys just kind of ran through the number of guys that are playing different positions or maybe out of position or trying new positions, is that I think, that's sort of something that is a tone that was set early on, that hey, the goal here is to win a championship. And, like, let's put aside ego, pride, whatever you want to talk about, put aside maybe personal preference when it comes to certain thing. And Fernando's leading the way on that, right? This is not about, hey, you won a Gold Glove in right field last year. This is about what's going to help this team win, because the goal for these guys is to win the first World Series in franchise history, to bring a major sports championship to San Diego for the first time in the history of the city. That's what they all think about. That's what they all care about. And they're all bought in on that. And they're putting aside anything individual for that goal. And I think you see that all the time with things like that.
Braden, your thoughts on Fernando and where he's best suited defensively?
Well, these guys all said it. The guy's a super athlete. I mean, I probably wouldn't want to see him behind the plate, but aside from that, he probably could do anything on this team. I mean, if they needed him to pitch, I mean, the guy throws the living daylights out of the ball too. I bet you he's got a nice fastball also. But I think whatever the team needs in terms of like getting the best 9 batters in there right now, is the place to be. And if it's second base, it's second. If it's right field, it's right field. So I think they're using Fernando exactly how I would use Fernando. It's like he's a guy that can help you put the lineup together where you get guys that are swinging the bat well in the lineup on a consistent basis.
It's our 97.3 The Fan Epic Padres Roundtable, brought to you by Epic Wings, commercial free, always fresh, never frozen. Let's talk about the back of the Padres rotation. And again, mention, don't make snap judgments and snap decisions in a long baseball season. One good start by J.P. Sears does not now mean he's a stalwart at the back of the rotation. Even Griffin Canning, as hit or miss as he has been, and probably more miss than hit, Jesse, it's still fairly early in his season for the number of starts that we've seen. For those two guys in particular, what do you want to see the Padres moving forward kind of do with the back end of their rotation? And, you see fans kind of chomping at the bit. I see the tweet. They should be canning Griffin, but the Padres don't
that. Be honest.
The Padres don't have the luxury of letting starting pitching get away at this point.
I don't think any team does. Yeah. There's not a team in baseball. It's like, we don't need that guy anymore. At least a contending team that's trying to win games. Look, I haven't done all the rotation math in terms of, how many games between now and the All-Star break and, who could go what day and everything like that, and where, maybe a German Marquez fits in or something like that. But for me, with the number of games remaining in the season, which I think game 81 is Saturday, so let's say 82 games left in the season then, you need more. You need more. You're going to need more. You keep rolling these guys out there at least a few more times to kind of get a sense of what you've got. Griffin Canning was very good last year before he got hurt for the Mets. It was a real resurgent kind of season. Now, if it continues to go the way it's gone, I'm not suggesting he gets important starts in September, because I don't think that'll be the case if he's, still not able to get 3 outs in an inning. But you got to give him the opportunity, I think, a few more times at minimum, to go out there and try and kind of refine what he was doing last year. And you can afford to do that. I know it's very easy to be like, oh my gosh, we can't keep running a guy like that out there. You can. Let me be clear, you can. And I get that people hate hearing it's still early, because it feels like it isn't, because I just said we're coming up on game 81. It's still early. And the example that I think is so great to use is 2024. I go on with you guys every Tuesday morning. And I don't know how many times in the last however many years I've said to you, it's still early. And you probably roll your eyes at me when I say that. But like 2024, by the time we got into the playoffs, I think everybody in baseball was saying the Padres are the best team in baseball. Mookie Betts was saying the Padres are the best team in baseball in 2024. Coming out of the All-Star break, the Padres, I believe, were swept by the Guardians in 2024, and they were sitting at 500. And it was like, oh boy, I don't know how we feel about this. And that was coming out of the All-Star break. It was still early in 2024 coming out of the All-Star break. Think about how many things changed between the first series after the All-Star break in 2024 and the first week of October, when pretty much
in which they lost 7-0. I think it was.
I think they lost the first game to the Guardians. They got shut out, and then they immediately just turned it on and were rocket ship.
It was rock bottom, right? And everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, this team is the worst team ever." And then again, by the first week of October, it was pretty much assumed by every person in baseball that this was the best team in baseball. So it's still early. And so you can afford to kind of give another few shots to these guys, because you got to figure out what you've got. No team has enough pitching. No contending team has enough pitching. So I'm all for experimentation for at least a little while longer.
Woods, how real was J.P. Sears? How long can they stick with Griffin Canning? And do you want to see guys like Johnny Brito or Matt Waldron or Germán Marquez return and get more chances in the rotation?
You know, when I access my brain and the thoughts that I've had watching games sometimes, I think there'd be like 3 guys left on the roster if I was in charge. In the middle of watching it, like, all right, he's out. You know, Kyle Hart would be pumping gas somewhere, right? If I really acted on my thoughts sometime.
Yuki's back in Japan.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Like we'd have a 3-man roster, right? Pretty much at this point. So and I don't even know Manny would be on that.
That's a better question.
So
Who are the 3?
Who are the 3?
Samad Taylor is
Samad Taylor, Fernando Tatis Jr., and Mason Miller, and Adrian Morejon, 4. But no, Benny, I have to trust in. It's hard for a fan base to do it too, because you have to trust that they're also trying to win games. The players and the front office, they really want to win games. They do, and I can't for the life of me think that they'd be like putting a guy out there over and over that didn't have at least something that they could build on positively, right? There's something in there that Ruben sees or AJ sees and Stammen sees and Fritzy sees. Like, I trust those guys. That's all we can do is, like, it's just blind hope sometimes. And so, but yeah, man, Jesse nailed it. Like, there's time to get a couple more in, but yeah, I think they're going to pull the trigger when they need to pull the trigger.
And Tony, I mean, you probably heard the same thing, but I've heard nothing but great things about JP Sears, his competitiveness and work ethic. And, as Wood said, there's a reason that AJ wanted him included in the Mason Miller trade. Haven't gotten to see him, but yeah, those numbers at AAA can be very, very deceptive when you're pitching in the PCL.
Yeah, no, I think the one thing we have to take into account is, despite how someone has shown, the big leagues is a lot about opportunity. And for JP, Jesse said this yesterday, for JP, here's an opportunity for him to step into the fold. Right? We go back to when we traded and got Martin Perez a couple years ago. We didn't think we were going to get what we got from him, but he ended up being a good piece. He filled that role. He stepped up. And, I think JP has a chance to do that. Is yesterday an indication that 100% he's going to do it? No, but it is an opportunity. He did step into it. So now the Padres have to assess whether they're going to give him another shot at it. And so I think Jesse's exactly right. These are, not only do they have time, but they have to, because there's so much season left. You got to cover those innings. There's going to still be starts where Michael King only goes 5. The bullpen has to cover. So you need these arms. And I think one of the things that's going to end up being an underrated thing that AJ did was how many arms he ended up getting to kind of get through this season. Germán Marquez, at some point, I'm guessing if he's healthy, is going to have another shot in the rotation. You're going to need those innings. And until we get to that August deadline where you can kind of, fortify your whole squad the way you really want to, these are must-haves for the Padres. And not just the Padres, for all organizations that have a staff and trying to get through 162.
Yeah, Braden, and baseball is funny because Griffin Canning, didn't have it on Tuesday, but I always think back, and if that Rowdy Tellez single that scored 2 is a one hopper to Tatis and it's a double play, he gets out of the inning, he may stabilize and go 5 or 6 and give up a run or 2. Baseball is just weird that way, and I don't think that means that he doesn't deserve another opportunity in the Padres rotation. Quite frankly, they're going to need him still going forward.
Yeah, and I was ready to pile on Canning too. I mean, you can't have a 7.38 ERA for the entire season and on any team, and keep rolling that guy out there. As Jesse mentioned, like long term, if this continues, it's going to be a problem. But I looked at like his metrics from just the 2/3 of an inning, like in all of his pitches. He actually got a B grade on his stuff for his last outing, which honestly shocked me when I looked at it. It's like he still has pretty good stuff. That's that, I think, that piece that Woods was talking about that you can build off of. It might have not looked that great on Tuesday, whatever it was, but there's still something there that the Padres are obviously interested in honing in on. And these guys are all right. I mean, like, you need arms, and anybody that can give you innings is going to be a benefit to your team. Hopefully they can get him out of this kind of funk that he has been in.
Chris, I never got to see you pitch at San Diego State, but when I imagine it in my mind, I think like JP Sears minus 20 miles an hour. Is that about right? Got competitive, curveballs, occasional mix in a fastball, just not with the velocity.
You think that many people hit deep fly balls against me?
Or wearing out the third baseman.
Yeah, I wore out the third baseman, hard ground balls. Yeah, JP Sears is a fly ball pitcher, right? And I mean, most of the outs he got last night were fly balls. And I think that's why AJ got him, because he felt a lot of his fly balls would stay in Petco Park. And it worked last night. So, I'm confident that, we give him a couple more shots. As much as I totally agree with all of your things you said about Griffin Canning, the one thing that Braden said that that leads me to this is you need guys that can give you innings right now. Well, he can't give you innings right now. It's been at least 2 or 3 times that his terrible performance has shot the bullpen for the next 2 or 3 games. I don't know how many times more you can take that risk. They were very fortunate that JP Sears gave them what they gave them. Tony and I talked about it yesterday. He was kind of going to be a sacrificial lamb last night. They couldn't have taken him out of the game early, even if they wanted to, because of Griffin Canning. And I don't know how many more because of Griffin Canning's this staff can absorb. Griffin Canning might be okay. I don't know if the rest of the staff is going to survive 3 or 4 more Griffin Canning starts. Certainly not like that. I don't mean to pick on it, but I just think for the good of the team, I think he's got to get it back together in relief over the next little while, because I can't worry about messing up my bullpen.
It's our Epic Wings, Epic Padres Roundtable. As Jesse mentioned, Game 81's coming up on Saturday. We'll save like a full first half review more for the All-Star break on this show. But since we are at the midway point, and someone in the chat said, you're going to ask this question, Tony's going to roll his eyes. But I think expectations of fans are important, Tony. And when you see them sitting here 5 games above 500, and you thought what you were going to see when the season started in spring training, is this team better, worse, or about what you thought they would be through the first half of the season?
For me personally,
Yeah.
I think they're worse than I thought they would be.
Okay.
I think no, they're right about where I thought.
I know it's a tricky
I think
question.
they're right about. I think the 3-game sweep puts them right about where I thought they would. Where I thought they would be. This is a team that I think has, despite the lack of offense, has probably overperformed from that standpoint, being able to have the wins they have, despite your best 3 guys. Actually, I can't and keep including Toddy in this. I think the 2 of the 3 guys not really being, the players that we've seen them be the last, couple seasons. I say they're right about where they are. And I think there is room to grow as a ball club as this offense, I think, starts to turn the corner.
I mean, you can even separate it. The offense is much worse than I thought it would be. The bullpen is kind of what I thought it would be, but I thought it would be really, really good. And Braden, that kind of leaves you with the starting pitching, which I was worried about at the start of the season. I'm still worried about now, but is actually, if you really look at it, has probably performed better than I expected through the first half of the season.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that's Walker Buehler has been a lot better than we all anticipated. I mean, when the Padres went out and signed, Buehler and Marquez and, Canning and Giolito and all these, they just loaded up on arms. You were kind of hoping one of them would kind of stick. I mean, deep down, we probably hoped that all 4 of them would be studs, and then you wouldn't have to worry about it, and you'd have a good rotation. But the fact that Walker Buehler has completely reinvented himself and is giving you almost like a number 2 to number 3 of the rotation kind of production his last like 8 or 10 starts, whatever it's been, is truly remarkable. But considering all the circumstances of what this team has gone through so far to this point, I think it's great that they are right where they're at. I honestly, and I agree with Tony, like at the beginning of the season, not knowing what the season was going to look like, they're kind of right where we thought they would be. I mean, we didn't think they were going to come out and be toe to toe with the Dodgers. We didn't think they were going to be lousy, right? And just be like under 500. I think they're kind of with this sweep, I think they're right where we expected them to be record-wise.
Woods, if we had known at the start of the season that Nick Pivetta would be missing most of the first half, Joe Musgrove wouldn't have pitched. Michael King has had 2 really good starts, and you're relying on the rest of that rotation. The offense, worst in the National League by a good amount. We'd been in panic mode. I mean, we'd be in panic mode going, are they 15, 20, 30 games under 500 at this point? No, they're 5 games above 500.
Yeah, and other teams have faced less hardship and are playing worse than the Padres. You know what I mean? The Padres have been hit pretty hard this year, and the 3 guys not performing for such a long stretch, the patchwork rotation, the bullpen's been awesome. They're always awesome to watch.
But injuries, losing Laureano, Cronenworth, the
of
catching
course.
core for an extended period of time.
It is crazy, and the expected win-loss record is different than what the actual win-loss record is. So they are actually outperforming right now. But you know me, man. What's my pick every year? 81 and 81. So we're right on pace. We're kind of right where we need to be.
Yeah. Jesse, expectations versus reality for you so far?
Yeah, I think record-wise, they're about, I guess, where I thought they would be there-ish, maybe, but it's been different than I expected. I think that's the way I would look at it. Like, results-wise, but it just doesn't look anything like what I thought it was going to look like, based on everything that you guys all just talked about. I would have never imagined the offense looking like this. I would have never imagined, some of the attrition that they've gone through injury-wise, the fact that we would have seen as little of Cronenworth and Laureano and Fermin and Campusano as we have. Those are the things that we know are going to happen in some way every year, but it's been a lot. It's been a lot early on. So credit to everybody, basically, for keeping it where it's at, considering everything that's gone down.
Chris, it's almost as if we should not imagine how a baseball season is going to go before we start it.
What a crazy idea.
It's not happening, Tony. Don't even. We're still going to do it next March. We're going to do the same thing.
What would we talk about? You know what I mean? What would we talk about? I'm with your philosophy. I tell them all the time. I'm like, this is right out of 101 sports radio host. We shouldn't do this.
What's it said? We'll talk about the season after it's over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll analyze it after it's over. That's how you do things.
Chris,
Yes.
your thoughts above, beyond?
I think the record is a little worse than I thought it would be, but it's way better than it should be based on everything that's happened. I do think it's interesting. After the Dodgers, you guys are going to Chicago, right, next week, and the listeners and all that will be exciting. But I looked at the Cubs. They got about the same record the Padres do. I think they're about a half game different right now. Their entire 5-man rotation is on the shelf. Dansby Swanson, until the last 2 days, was the worst player in baseball. Michael Busch is way below last year. Nico Horner's way down. On it goes. PCA's had a nice hot streak. My point is, the Cubs are similar to the Padres in that sense, right? They're decimated. Guys are not performing. These teams find a way to hang in there and keep winning. And so we're not alone. We just got to keep it going.
And Braden, that is the sign of maybe a good overall organization that they can keep it together when things aren't at their best, because we see the bad organizations when one thing goes wrong, it just snowballs and the season's over. But Padres haven't let that happen.
No, they haven't. And the other thing too is, as we talked about at the beginning part of the season, it's like, these comeback wins are not sustainable. They're not, but at the same time, it's good to be able to have that confidence when you're down, knowing like, hey, this lead's not out of reach. We can go out there and get it. Because we've seen a lot of baseball teams that, and even Padre teams in the past that sound like, oh man, this game's over after 2 runs. But I think that's going to pay off in the long run for this team. I also think this team's camaraderie is pretty good too. I mean, they're showing why there's something to what they're doing down there that leads to why they're still winning games despite all the circumstances they're dealing with.
It's our Epic Wings, Epic Padres Roundtable. Epic Wings, always fresh, never frozen. And Jesse and Tony, I think you guys have one of the best jobs in baseball, getting to cover and call baseball games every single day. I know you say it, how lucky you are all the time, and fans always talk about it as well. But for today's roundtable draft, we're going to do the old draft. I want everybody to pick a job that they would do in baseball behind the scenes, not player, manager, coach, broadcaster, GM, but one of the hundreds of jobs that makes a baseball season go that they would want to do if they couldn't do, Jesse, what you're doing right now. what would you pick to stay in baseball and just do something related to the sport?
It's a great question, and I know how hard all those jobs are because I see everybody who does them. I don't think I could actually do any of them because, I see what they do. But I see TJ Laidlaw in our clubhouse and all the equipment and everything that he kind of runs with his team in there, and I'm fascinated by it. Again, I could not do his job. I would have no ability whatsoever to do his job, but I think it's really cool. So to kind of be, in charge of all the gear and the clubhouse and the staff and everything that they are, I think that would be neat. You still get to be around the team, still get to travel, still kind of get to be in the day in, day out grind. And to me, the best part of working in baseball is to be a part of the day in and day out grind. I love being around the team every day. I think that's what gives me the great sense of understanding and respect for what the guys are going through. So I would, I guess, say something there. But again, I couldn't actually do it. I would.
No, I agree. Like, I think the other TJ Lasita is the traveling secretary.
Yes.
See, I would want to do that. I like logistics, and I'd want to be planning out all right, the buses are going to pick us up here in Chicago.
Stressed out.
It would be. I'm sure. I get it. It would be awful. Woods, what about you?
Oh, I'd be want to be the clubby. I am San Diego's concierge. I'd like to be the concierge for the San Diego Padres. I'm in there. I mean, it's late. You're staying late. You're cleaning shoes and stuff. But like the end of the year, they get that playoff bonus. Everyone comes up, takes care of you. You're with the guys. They kind of treat you like one of the guys from what I've seen. No brainer. Clubby.
Braden, what would be your choice?
So what were the ones you couldn't do? A broadcaster?
Any of the really four, like player, coach, broadcaster, GM.
Okay.
Assistant GM.
Well, because I was thinking about like a scout would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, now you wouldn't be with the team at all. You'd be out on the road. You'd be all over the place. I think, with my connection with coaching high school sports, I think it'd be cool to be a scout, go and look at all the college teams, all the high school teams, help, AJ Preller and company find talent at the next level. I think that's kind of a cool unsung hero job that is out there.
Chris, what about you? What's your behind-the-scenes baseball job of choice?
Well, I like a lot of it, what everybody said. I do think traveling secretary would be next to impossible. I do remember, I don't know if you know this name, Jesse, for the Atlanta Braves, his name was Pete Van Wieren. He was a broadcaster back with Skip Carey and Ernie Johnson, but he became a broadcaster along with his traveling secretary duties.
Oh, my God.
Could you imagine doing both of those things?
Wow.
Like, if you were the traveling secretary and the play-by-play, that's how baseball's changed.
Absolutely not.
Incredible. No, you didn't eliminate this position, so I'll go ahead and collect all the money at the end of the day. How about owner?
Oh, that's a good job to have.
Very behind the scenes.
Not a bad choice, actually.
Yeah, I'll take
behind the scenes,
not a bad
isn't it?
choice.
Super
Tony,
behind the scenes.
you got to grow up seeing a lot of those guys in the Padres clubhouse with your dad, and then as a player, you saw what it goes into just getting those guys on the field every day. If you couldn't have been what you were and now are now, what would you have done?
First of all, being a clubby is a great job in terms of like those people are like they make that whole thing go
Revered,
right.
Yeah.
Like I'm still like Tony Patrica is still like an uncle to me, right? I grew up in the clubhouse when he was kind of running the clubhouse, and so I love those guys. But for me, it'd be a major league scout, and that covers going to see the teams that you're going to play and or teams that have guys that you may trade for. I think that would be great. I'm still in the big league park, get great seats.
And
I get to watch baseball like all day long. I get to watch different teams too. I think that would be pretty cool to bounce around, see different guys, get to follow a Mike Trout for a while if he's on the radar to be traded, something like that. I think that job would be great.
I'll note, none of us pick trainer. We don't want to be doing all the rub downs and everything necessary. And none of us took media relations assistant,
don't want
or
that.
none of us wants to deal with us all year long in that job. Let's say as we're hitting in there the second half of the show.
I also don't want to be in media relations because I ran into Darren Feeney at the Dallas airport Sunday. He was the first guy booted off the plane home.
Why?
Because they had too many guys to fly home.
Oh, no.
So Darren got kicked out. He had to fly home with me commercially.
No.
So that's another reason I don't want to be in the media relations. Sorry about that, Darren.
No.
That's got to be the worst
no.
feeling. You think you're going on the private,
you're going home.
You make it.
and then you didn't make the cut. Oh, that's got to
Hey,
be.
that is the life.
that happens.
right? Like,
I didn't know that
if-
happened.
in this case, the Padres had guys they had to call up because there were some guys kind of on the fence there, and so that's players gonna get a seat. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Darren at the airport, but I've been a lot more surprised to see Xander Bogaerts.
Yeah.
By himself.
All right, let's do a little rapid fire here. Again, middle of the season, wild card race is very tight in the National League. It'll play out over the next couple of months, but we're gonna just do pretender or contender. I'm gonna shout. I'm gonna give you a team name. Just kind of shout out what we think, and then I'll call on one of you to elaborate. Philadelphia Phillies, contender. Anyone disagree with that?
No, I don't.
Contender.
All right, Woods.
They're going to win the East.
Contender,
It's pretty obvious why they're contenders. All right, let's go to the St. Louis Cardinals. A little dicey, right?
I'm all iffy on them.
Pretender, I think.
I just feel like they're very young. We've seen teams like them kind of run out of gas, but they haven't shown any signs that they're going to do that. I don't know if their pitching staff can hold up. I mean, Justin May's been great. McGreevy is a stud. I just feel like they kind of run out of gas.
If anyone wants to disagree, I think the Cardinals have played great, but they're starting to wobble a bit, and I just don't know if they truly believe themselves as an organization that they're ready to make the moves necessary to go after it.
That'll be the fascinating
Yeah.
thing, right? Is at the trade deadline, because they want to hold on to their young guys.
Right.
They're not gonna trade their real deal prospects because they got some guys coming that they think can be a big part of the future. But will they maybe make a little move here and there, kind of at the margins to give themselves a shot? That'll be maybe the most fascinating team in the National League outside of our team. That is always the most fascinating team, to watch at the trade deadline.
Do they trade Dustin May?
See, that's
Because he's on a one-year deal.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be fascinating to see what direction they go over the next month. Cubs, clearly, if they get healthy,
Real quick
contender.
on the Cardinals, I think I'm gonna say pretender only because I don't think the margins I don't think will be good enough to get them in that division. I think I think the National League is too good overall that I'm gonna say they're a pretender.
Cubs, I mean, if they get healthy, contender, but if their pitching rotation doesn't get a bunch of guys back, they will not survive like the Padres didn't in 2021 when they just completely ran out of pitching. The Cubs could end up going that direction, which would be obviously a bummer for them because they have the talent to be good.
I'm not dumb enough to say that they're a pretender as we are heading out to Chicago to watch them play our team. So I'm going to say contender.
That's a
Huge
good call.
contender.
How about the Miami Marlins sitting there 2-3 games above 500 at their midpoint of the season through 81 games? Are they a contender or a pretender?
I think they think they are, or I think everybody thinks they're a pretender because that's why people keep saying, well, they're going to trade Sandy Alcantara. Why would they do that? If they're going to make it, he's going to help get them there. So, but I think to answer your question in general, I would say the Phillies and the Cubs are the real contenders. And I think the other teams, Cardinals, Marlins, Nationals, Pirates, Reds, whoever you want to name, I think they're all the pretenders.
You just ruined our entire
You just
segment.
did the whole
Are you
thing.
kidding?
You just gave all the answers to the test.
I was ready to move on.
Yeah, I can
was ready to
tell.
move
Chris
on.
is like, they're all pretenders. Move on.
Does anyone think the Diamondbacks are a contender?
No,
I forgot about
I don't.
Pretender.
Pretender. Okay. How
Sure
about
hope.
the Nationals? The offense has been the best in baseball, but
Pitching.
generally
They gotta trade.
pitching, you got to. If they make a trade for pitching, they can, right?
They have to get
What
an
else do they
entire
have
new
to
bullpen.
trade? I don't know what. I don't, do they got some big time prospects down there? I don't know.
They got.
I don't see them trading. their
I don't. They're
prospects.
that.
They're not trading
yeah, that's
Eli
what I'm
Willits
saying,
for a
like,
run.
I don't think so. I would say
And-
they're a pretender.
And then finally, the Pirates.
I hope that they are contenders, man.
I think
'cause
they
got
would go
so
for
many
it. I think
arms.
they're of those
They
teams.
already
Yes.
have the pitching.
Right,
It
they
seems
do.
like they're in the easiest spot to maybe improve the offense a little bit.
And
think
if they
could be a
don't at this
contender.
time in Pittsburgh, you have to stop watching that team and going to the games.
You
You have Braxton Ashcraft and Paul Skeens and up and down. Like they have a ton of prospects too.
Yeah.
They need some help. this is the year to go for
They
it.
have seemingly shown that they are trying. They are trying. They made a real attempt at Schwarber during the offseason. It sounded like
Lau was a great pickup.
They've made some
good.
moves. So I have to assume that is going to continue at least through the rest of the season.
Yeah, like you talk about the Cardinals, you're not sure if they would make the moves to go for it. The Nationals, you're not sure if they would make the moves to go for it. The Marlins, you're not sure if they would make the moves to go for it. I feel like the Pirates would.
Yeah.
Of all that kind of like cluster of teams,
They better.
They're the team that should.
They better. If I'm a fan, I am clawing at the walls.
You don't want them to make a move.
I'm just saying, like, if I'm a fan of theirs, because they're pitching. Ashcraft yesterday was nasty, and Skeens is Skeens, and like
they're right. I mean, they're right. They have a good enough staff.
Yeah.
Till you go out and you get an offensive piece, you're in it. You're in there.
All right, 7th inning stretch time, getting near the end. It's our non-baseball question on our Epic Wings, Epic Padres Roundtable. And since we just celebrated Father's Day, I thought I'd get a little sentimental and give everybody who wants to, you don't have to, but just a chance to say something about your dad here. And I will start with my dad, Steve Higgins, who has been just so supportive of me my entire life. But one thing that people might not know, he had a friend named Peter Jensen who used to write for a bunch of magazines, including San Diego Home and Garden, was a columnist. And he once took him to a Lakers game, went up with him, and they got up there. And Peter was so struck with my dad, he wrote an entire column about him called "The Man Who Always Said Thank You." Because every time he was greeted by an usher, a ticket taker, just everybody, it was just always a smile and a thank you. And my dad has always been that way, just always very gracious, very kind, very supportive. And I just wanted to say that I appreciated my dad here on the week after Father's Day. Who wants to go next?
I met your dad. He wasn't all that polite.
play golf with him. He'll give you 6-footers.
Yeah.
He'll give them to you so he can keep the thing going.
Down on me like, what are you doing here? Not totally not true. I'll go next. My dad, gave me the strength to believe in myself and to figure things out on my own. And I always appreciated that. One thing I will say, he was the biggest fan of my pitching, and he always found himself. You remember the old backstops they used to have in high school fields?
Yeah.
He would get in that last corner spot with the fence and the backstop. So it was basically when I looked into home plate, I saw catcher, umpire, my dad.
Yep.
But he never made any emotional, nod to me. He just felt like he trusted me out there.
My dad was like that too when
And
I
I just
pitched.
think
Very
that
stoic.
it was important to me.
No reaction.
He was there, but he wasn't getting too excited one way or the other. He believed I could do the job. So I appreciated that.
Who wants to go next?
My dad, great. He's the epitome of what, a man and a dad should be all the time. I mean, from his, how he worked from his family as a construction guy up into being a structural engineer, and then taught that work ethic to me, my brother, and my sister. Having that coach mentality too, coaching high school football here for 40 plus years. There's a lot of like being on you. But he taught me how to be such a great person. And, I owe a lot of that to my dad, and I know my brother and sister feel the same. So, I'm going to see him later tonight, for dinner, but, my dad's a great guy, and he's done so much to make my dreams come true, and a lot of sacrifices for my family. So we definitely appreciate that.
Woods, you threatened to cry.
Yeah, I
during
probably
this
will.
segment.
I haven't slept, so I'm emotional. No, I think my dad, the lesson is, he never gave up on me, and he's seen me at my lowest. I told you, damn it. That's it. That's all I got.
It's all right. Jesse?
My dad was is a baseball nut, and I think if not for that, I wouldn't have become the baseball nut that I was and am, and if not for that, I'm not doing the job that I'm doing and the job that I love. And so, kind of giving me that obsessiveness at a very young age, and sort of the belief that you could go get that job, that 30 people have, 60 people have, whatever you want to say. That he and my mom both, kind of said, yeah, you can dream like that. So it's very, very important to get to where I am.
Tony, we all feel like we knew your dad. Some of us were lucky enough to actually get to know him a little bit, but you obviously have a different perspective.
Yeah, I think the one thing that you guys have kind of all mentioned is that they instilled a confidence in you that you can go out and conquer the world. My dad was no different. given that we share the same name, I think he recognized early on that would make it a little bit more difficult for myself. And he didn't complicate that by putting his own pressures on me. He kind of was hands off, super supportive in whatever it was I was doing. And even as I, off the professional side of things, even as a husband and a father, he really just kind of set an example, that a blueprint that I could follow. So I'm very appreciative of that.
I think we should thank Tony's dad also for sharing his laugh with his son, so that we can keep hearing Tony's laugh.
Lives forever.
Longer and longer.
I often tell, because I almost, and I'm not exaggerating, almost on a daily basis, I hear, man, you sound so much like your dad.
Every day.
And I tell people that it's kind of like the gift he left behind, is that, I may not have been the player, but I get to carry his voice, and I think people hear that, and it takes them to a happy place.
I hate you for this bit, by the way. I'm so mad at you.
I've told the story a couple of times, but a few months after your dad passed away, I'd called you, left a message. You didn't get back to me, and it was like weeks later you called, and it was before the numbers kind of came up, and I answered hello, and he goes, "Hey Ben, it's Tony Gwynn," and it sounded so like your dad that my heart stopped. Like, my heart literally stopped, because I wasn't expecting you to call. And I almost crashed my car. And then I finally realized, it's Tony Gwynn Jr. I called you Anthony. So
that's the thing. Everybody who was around my dad at some point called me Anthony.
So, all right, last just a couple of minutes here. All right.
You want to do our favorite pets that died. I had a couple of dogs killed a couple years ago. My coyote was awful.
All right.
Favorite grandmother that you've lost, Jesse?
We can't ignore the blue monster in the room. Dodgers are coming to town. I don't think it's actually that big of a series. Like, we usually make such a big deal about it. It's a big series because it's the next series for the San Diego Padres. Jesse, what do you kind of expect here these next 3 games?
I expect fun. I mean, look, it's a great time. It is. I know there's only a few tickets left, so the place is going to be packed. Padres.com/tickets. Where's the camera?
Very smart. Where is the camera?
Is there a camera?
It's around somewhere.
It's cool. Like, I'm not going to pick on the Marlins, but like, if this were the Marlins this weekend, we'd be like, yeah, it's going to be fun. But this is different than that, right? We all know that, and so it'll be rocking, it'll be loud, it'll be crazy, it'll be a lot of fun. You can play 7 games against these guys in the next week and a half or whatever it is. So it'll be great. I think it's Sasaki Friday, Yamamoto Saturday. I forget on Sunday. Bueller against Emmett Sheehan on Sunday. Thank you. Bueller against his old team on Friday night.
That's what I'm very looking forward to seeing that.
This is going to be great. There's storylines up the wazoo. It's just going to be a ton of fun. You'll hear the words measuring stick far more than you want to, the next 72 hours. But like, it'll be fun. It'll be exciting. It'll be energetic. Put all the storylines aside, in terms of what this means and everything like that. It'll just be great, exciting, fun baseball between 2 good teams.
Tony, what are you looking at?
I can't wait to see Walker face his old team. He pitches with an edge to him that he wants to go out and put his best work together.
When you play behind guys like that, like, I always wanted to ask you, it changes it a little bit, doesn't it? Like, a guy that's straight, he's a dog, right? And he's chirping and the whole thing.
Well, not only is Walker dog, he's starting to feel like his self again. And so that just brings a whole nother layer to it. I think, the fact that we're not talking about it like we typically are, I think we're all learning a little something here in San Diego finally.
Finally.
This isn't the end all be all. But I think Jesse's right, man. This series, at least for the near future, is always going to be a thing when these 2 teams get together. Not only is San Diego and Los Angeles paying attention, but nationally, everybody's paying attention to this matchup. So it should be a lot of fun. We may feel differently after the 3 games. We might feel like we're on top of the world after the 3 games. And that's the beauty of this series and these 2 teams getting together.
Yeah, and again, while it's the middle of the season and a lot of things are going to change, a week, if you could win 2 series against the Braves and the Dodgers, that's who you're going to have to go through in October and do the same thing if you want to get where you're going. So, not measuring stick necessarily, but a reminder that in baseball, in a short series, anything can happen. Yeah. And, this is a good chance to go and prove that. All right, we are done. It was a fun Epic Padres Roundtable brought to you by Epic Wings. Always fresh, never frozen. Again, spicy barbecue coming Monday, July 6th. You can check out their new Buddy Pack as well coming up Monday, July 6th. 20 wings, 2 sauce flavors, 4 breadsticks, and 2 dipping sauces for the entire panel. I'm Ben Higgins. Thanks for joining us on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. So long, everybody.
Think you can outsmart me in a sports trivia showdown? Step into the